Hello and welcome to Oyo Run, the online resource for the self-coached runner. My name's Steve Sisson and I'm your host. I thought I would just provide a quick introduction to this short episode. This project is just getting started. We only have one introduction episode. And so I feel like if I drop something hot like this, it might not have a context. Also, I needed to step back a little bit and say, in that intro episode, I mentioned that I wouldn't be talking about philosophical things, and yet here I am already right off the bat, jumping into the deep end. This episode type is going to be called a sermon. I may not keep that name, but for now, this is Sermon 1, the Dojo. The inspiration for these episodes comes from my youth and from my own self-coaching process that I'm going through simultaneous to you. In my early years, I grew up in a very strict Christian background, one in which I gave lots of sermons. It was part of my education, both academic and spiritual. And so I've gotten pretty good at these. And that may be one of the reasons why some of you listen to my various podcast projects, because I kind of have that sort of preacher way. So I just thought I would start doing some really punchy, pithy, focused invitations to the practice, invitations to being self-coached, framed in a more formal, direct, clean way. So these sermons will be balanced with the On the Leash episodes, which will also be shorter, but they will be much more talking about a specific aspect of physiological, psychological, and occasionally, especially early on, there'll be some philosophical background with it, but those are going to be much more about one particular thing. And I guess these sermons will be too. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to play out, but just think of the sermon as a sort of call to action, and the On a Leash is a pointing out. How's that? Maybe that's the best way to say it. I don't want to spend too much time covering this, but I just thought it would be better to give you a little bit of context before I dropped this hot ball of mess in your lap, listener. I hope you enjoy these. We'll see how they progress. I'm so excited about this Oyo Run project. Thank you for being on this journey with me, and Godspeed, my friends. Most runners have a program, a plan, a series of workouts stacked up in a spreadsheet or distributed in an app. Maybe you're getting your plan from a book. It'll include paces, volumes, recovery windows. And a plan is good. A plan matters. But here's the thing that most plans don't address. Who is doing the running? It's not your fitness. It's not your form. It's not those numbers or letters and words on the sheet of paper or on the phone screen. You, the person who has to show up on the hard days, the hot days, the freezing cold days, the days that are stressful, when you'd rather roll over and go back to bed, the days when the motivation that launched the training block has already gone quiet. A program tells you what to do, but it says nothing about how to be. And what a runner who was coached is missing isn't more structure. It's a container, something that holds the outer work and the inner work together, something that makes a practice a practice. And by practice, I mean in the older, deeper sense of the word. It's much more than your accumulated weekly mileage. Well, there's a word for this container. It comes from Japan. But the thing that it names is much older than Japan and much broader than the martial arts. The word is dojo. Dojo means place of the way. Do, D-O, is the same character for the Taoist Tao, path, a way, a living principle. Jo, J-O, is a field or a place. So a dojo is literally a field in which the way can happen. It's a cosmological claim, not an architectural one. The building of the dojo is incidental. It's the container. That's the point. Before it was ever associated with the martial arts, a dojo was a Buddhist term for the place of enlightenment. In this case, the ground under the Bodhi tree where Buddha, or Shakyamuni, woke up. Before anyone threw a punch, had a form like crouching tiger, or hooded dragon, or 13 hands. A dojo was a threshold space where the ordinary reality became porous to something much larger. And this structure, a container set apart from the ordinary life, entered through ritual, held by a code, inhabited by others who came before, isn't only Japanese. The Greeks had it in their gymnasium, where Socrates taught alongside athletes. The Desert Fathers had it in a cell. The alchemist had it in the sealed vessel. Every tradition that took transformation seriously built a container for it first. And what we're talking about is that container. Built for the runner, built by you. Every genuine dojo across all traditions, Japanese, Greek, monastic, alchemical, and many, many more, share the same basic anatomy. It has 6 elements. None of them require a building. All of them can have to be constituted by a single runner alone whenever you make that first step. I'm going to list these here, these 6, give you a short description. Then I'm going to give you an example from my own life, which I'll unpack minimally. If you're interested in more on this anatomy, you can look in the show notes. There's a link. Or on the oyo.run website. Under this sermon, you'll find it. I just want to note that my personal version of this dojo, as I describe, will be unpacked much more later in a separate context, in a separate container I call Run Gnosis. That will be available to anyone who becomes a member of the Oyo Run online community. More on that later. So the anatomy of a runner's dojo. Number 1, place and time. Where and when does your dojo exist? The runner's dojo lives in the act of beginning, but it needs edges to make and hold space. 2, a threshold ritual. How do you enter the practice? How do you leave it? The ritual marks the crossing into a different mode of being. Code. What do you stand on? Not a goal, but a ground. Who are you in practice? State it plainly enough to say aloud. Tools. What are the instruments of your practice? In a traditional dojo, they'll be treated as sacred, but you name yours deliberately. Just don't make assumptions. Lineage. You are not the first. Name those you run with, for, even in their absence. Bring at least one ally into the space each time that you enter. Renewal. How does the dojo stay alive? Without renewal, even the best container becomes a habit rather than a practice. So I want to give you one example of what this looks like if it's been inhabited or fleshed out and built. This is my own dojo anatomy. It's not a template. It's not a prescription. Read as a demonstration of what it means to be in the structure, how a structure can be lived into. Place and time. Everything is training in the donning of the gear, the travel to the training location, all instructions and all intentions. It is the first step that marks the crossing of the threshold. Threshold ritual. Elements in and out form. Code. I am of the world as I am in it. I follow the red thread. I value courage, truth, full effort, and my dance with uncertainty. Tools. My body, my mind, my soul in relation to the elements. Lineage. My father, my mother, all my coaches, my mentors, my allies, and my ancestors. Renewal. The dojo is always available to all through one's flesh, and flesh is renewal. So in the show notes, you'll find a one-page worksheet with the 6 elements and a few prompts for each, and some writing space. You can do this in a journal. It's not a form to fill out completely or correctly. It's an invitation to name what may already be present in your practice and make deliberate what I feel like has always been unconscious. Where to start? If the worksheet feels like too much work for right now, or it's a little bit too weird, just start with one thing. Just pick something. Maybe name your threshold ritual. For some, that will be uncomfortable. Or maybe discuss who it is that you might be running with or for, who's in your lineage. It doesn't need to be elaborate. The donning of the gear, a breath, a word said quietly before your first step, something that marks you crossing a threshold from everyday life into the dojo. That single act, done with intention, is already a dojo. The rest will grow out of it. So one note on lineage. And one more thing before you go out. You don't have to name your full lineage every time that you step into the practice. But bring one ally with you, one coach, one mentor, one runner who came before. Let them be present in the work so you're not alone in this, and you never were. A program tells you what to do. The dojo transforms the doer. The container is not separate from the practice. The container is the practice. Build yours. Godspeed.